the question of being an alcoholic. I'm not quite sure that I am one, but if I'm not one, I'm very near.
Alcoholism is now regarded as a complete addiction disorder, not just a case of losing one's self-control. It's no secret that some of Hollywood's biggest names have lost their lives to alcohol. These celebrities weren't just victims of bad habits. They were struggling with an illness they were unable to overcome. But how could some of the biggest stars in Hollywood lose everything to a bottle? Was the pleasure from drinking really worth more than the thrill of being in the spotlight, hearing the cheers of fans and taking home trophies? Well, join us as we examine the terrible tales of 30 Hollywood stars who gave themselves to the deadly grip of alcoholism. Number 30, Peter O'Toole. Peter Seamus O'Toole was born on August 2, 1932, and his legendary performances in classic films such as Beckett and Lawrence of Arabia cemented his place in cinematic history. The majority of his stage plays were adaptations of Shakespeare's works, which made him famous. He had 8 Oscar nominations for Best Actor, but he was never the winner.
You showed me how to be a king.
Me? I was a lousy king.
On the contrary. You are a good and decent man.
To this day, no one has broken that record except Glenn Close. Fame overshadowed O'Toole's chaotic personal life, marked by binge drinking, a habit he developed in childhood and that worsened during the 1960s and 1970s. He lost everything due to his uncontrollable addiction. Despite numerous hospital stays and attempts at rehabilitation, his addiction severely damaged his health and career.
I think I can hold this stuff tolerably well. I mean, if I were a yob or a hooray Henry, by the time the pub opens again, I could be one of those cases found by the coroner to have choked on their own vomit. Disgusting phrase! When did you hear of anyone choking on someone else's vomit?
He was so alcoholic that one more drink could kill him. So the doctors had sternly prevented him from drinking. At the age of 81, O'Toole passed away from stomach cancer on December 14, 2013. The myth of the British actor who could party all night and then arrive on set first thing in the morning still remains.
Coming from Japan, one indeed stops at lots of places, Hawaii and all over. And it coincided, our stopping, with the cocktail hour.
Aha.
Everywhere we went, it was the cocktail hour. And one doesn't want to be discourteous.
Of course not. So all along the way you...
So we were... That's true.
Number 29, Vern Troyer.
Like about you is, I mean, you have a great sense of humor. Because I saw a picture where you stacked up a few donuts. Just show, how many donuts tall are you?
I think it was 26. I mean, as we kept stacking donuts, the bottom ones tended to get flat. And so we had to keep adding more and more.
On January 1st, 1969, Vern Troyer, who you may recall from Austin Powers as Mini-Me, was born in Michigan. Vern had a prosperous cinematic career, but he also faced hardships in his personal life. He made his cinematic debut as a stunt double in the motion picture Baby's Day Out. He also performed stunt double work in a number of 1990s movies, such as My Giant and Men in Black. But his fame wasn't all glitter and shine. Mini-Me Vern Troyer of Austin Powers battled alcoholism. His intoxicated actions from the VH1 reality series The Surreal Life were captured on camera, which went viral and is now regarded as one of the best moments in reality TV history. I know you're eager to hear about the clip, and I'll explain it to you in just 1 minute. But before that, take a moment to click the notification bell and subscribe button so you can receive updates on more surprising celebrity moments. In the video, a drunk Troyer rides around in his motorized wheelchair while naked and urinates in a corner of the room. Another private video of him and his girlfriend was also released, and Vern was admitted to rehabilitation in 2018. Sadly, Vern died in Los Angeles on April 21, 2018, at the age of 49. Alcohol intoxication was indeed the cause of his death. Number 28, Lon Chaney Jr. Born Crichton Tull Chaney, Lon Chaney Jr. was a well-known American actor most recognized for his work in horror movies. Following his legendary performance in The Wolfman, he notably earned nicknames like the Prince of Pain and the Master of Horror. During the 1950s and 1960s, he battled alcoholism severely, which greatly impacted his life. His early parental death, his work pressures, and his unsuccessful marriages all played a part in his drinking as a coping strategy. His addiction resulted in repeated hospital stays and arrests, which had a serious negative influence on his health and career. He appeared with Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show in the final stages of his life. He said that his voice was weak because he had been growling at kids on Halloween, but actually, he had throat cancer. Notwithstanding these obstacles, Lon Chaney Jr. worked hard to kick his addiction and carried on performing until his passing in 1973. Number 27, Dennis Price. On June 23, 1915, Dennis Price was born in Twyford, Berkshire, England. His life took a tragic turn. Price's chronic drinking by the 1950s had a negative impact on both his personal and professional life. His marriage to actress Joan Schofield in 1939 ended 11 years later because of his drug addiction and homosexuality. In 1954, when things were at their lowest point, he attempted suicide in an almost unimaginable way. Is there anyone who can guess how? I bet no one would ever be able to guess. He actually poked his head inside an oven. Even after his miraculous rescue, he continued to battle, mainly with alcohol. Dennis, according to reports, would begin his day with a crate of Guinness and end it with an abundance of scotch. He would bring a full bag of alcohol to the set, and once, midway through the performance, he would stumble onto the stage completely drunk. He paid a price for his alcohol consumption, as his addiction severely damaged his career, and he died from liver cirrhosis. He is laid to rest on the Isle of Sark, next to the Dame of Sark. Number 26, David Cassidy. Born in New York on April 12, 1950, David Cassidy became well known for his performance in the musical series The Partridge Family during the 1970s.
I was always a musician. I was played, but I never pursued my career as a musician. It was just fate, you know, the way the stars aligned them.
Despite being well known for his part in the series, he didn't have an easy life. Cassidy suffered from persistent drinking and social isolation, despite his fame and heartthrob status. In an interview, he pulled off his glamorous mask to disclose his darkest secret, a long-time battle with addiction.
I just became lonely, isolated. I would isolate. I would go and buy a bottle of booze and come back and go upstairs in my room, close the door, and stay there and drink alone. That's a sad, dark place.
The situation, in his words, is like an unconquerable slippery slope. In addition to many DUI convictions, he declared bankruptcy in 2015 and made a fraudulent dementia claim in 2017. Sadly, there isn't a happy conclusion to David's tale. On November 18, 2017, he was admitted to a hospital in Florida in critical condition, and he passed away on November 21st. It was later discovered that alcohol intoxication, not dementia, was the cause of his struggles. Number 25, John Wayne. The legendary American actor John Wayne is well known for his unforgettable roles in classic Western adventure movies. With more than 150 film credits spanning over 50 years, He was widely recognized for his role in The Sands of Iwo Jima. He earned 3 Oscar nominations and 1 Academy Award for his performance. But Wayne struggled with alcoholism, which worsened in the 1940s and had a negative impact on his career and health. In the 1950s, he received the diagnosis of lung cancer, which compelled him to address his alcohol addiction during his cancer treatment. Wayne battled alcoholism even after beating cancer, but he controlled his intake. His path demonstrates remarkable resilience in overcoming obstacles related to his health as well as personal problems.
1964, at the age of 57, you learnt you had cancer. Were you frightened?
I should say I was frightened. You know, when the man says, you have the big C, it's almost like telling you it's terminal, you know. And I imagine 1 out of 20 people survive after the operation, if you catch it in time, as they did mine, because I did have checkups. Well, you have a chance. And that's why I allowed them to use my name and told the public that I had cancer so they would know that with checkups they could survive cancer.
Due to lung cancer, John Wayne passed away in 1979. His legacy in film is legendary, and his ability to remain positive through hardships throughout life is a source of inspiration. Number 24, Judy Garland. She was often referred to as the Queen of Stage and Screen for her powerful performances and strong voice. Before turning 30, the actress struggled with drugs and alcohol and experienced a nervous breakdown. She was checked into a private mental health facility, attempted suicide, and underwent electroconvulsive therapy to treat her depression. She battled alcohol and drug addiction throughout her life, and it got worse in the 1960s. These conflicts resulted in serious health problems, professional failures, and emotional unrest, including failed marriages and tense relationships. Mayer, whom she saw as a father figure, broke off his relationship with Garland. Garland tragically died in 1969 at the age of 47 from liver failure brought on by alcoholism. Even after her tragic passing, fans all around the world continue to cherish her films and songs, keeping her immortality in their minds. Number 23, Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth, whose real name was Margarita Carmen Cancino, was an American dancer and actress most recognized for her memorable parts in movies from the 1940s. Known for her striking red hair and mesmerizing performances, Hayworth battled drinking in spite of her fame. In the 1940s, she first used alcohol as a stress reliever. But over time, her alcoholism worsened, causing serious health problems and professional setbacks. Her alcoholism had become so bad by the 1950s that she had to stay in many hospitals and give up on a number of film projects. Her battle with alcoholism peaked in the 1960s and 1970s, leaving her mainly disabled and reliant on her husband. Hayworth's struggle with Alzheimer's disease further ruined her life, and she passed away in 1987. Number 22, Bela Lugosi. The Hungarian-American actor Bela Lugosi starred as Count Dracula in the classic 1931 film. His eerie vampire portrayal turned him into a Hollywood icon. His performance made him a horror genre icon and helped to popularize vampire images. In the early 1900s, Lugosi started his career on the Hungarian stage. In 1913, he moved to the United States to work in silent films. However, he struggled with alcoholism, which worsened in the 1930s and had a significant negative influence on both his personal and professional life. Despite his difficulties, Lugosi kept performing, mostly in B-movies where he would return to his role as Dracula or other vampire-like characters. Heart disease associated with his alcoholism tragically claimed Lugosi's life in 1956. His reputation as a trailblazing horror film pioneer lives on, thanks to his remarkable contributions to the genre and his spooky portrayal of the immortal Count Dracula. Number 21, Sterling Hayden. American actor Sterling Hayden rose to fame as a movie star overnight, despite having no acting experience. He is best known for his parts in movies like Johnny Guitar and The Asphalt Jungle. He struggled with alcoholism for most of his life, starting in the 1940s. His addiction had a serious negative influence on both his personal and professional life. But because of his regular intoxication, he was frequently fired from film projects. Hayden struggled with alcohol and drug addiction throughout the 1950s, despite his efforts to overcome his habit. This resulted in numerous health and legal issues. Back in the 1960s, he overcame his addiction and made a slow but steady comeback to the film industry with independent endeavors. Regretfully, Hayden's prostate cancer claimed his life in 1986 when he was 76 years old. His later years were marked by substance abuse, intoxication, self-doubt, and depression. In a metaphorical sense, his life was a succession of conflicts, the hardest which was the one that Sterling Hayden fought with himself. Number 20. Mary Astor. Celebrated American actress Mary Astor battled alcoholism her whole life. She was best recognized for her parts in classic Hollywood films, including A Letter to Three Wives and The Maltese Falcon. Her personal and professional life suffered as a result of her addiction, which started in the 1930s and got worse in the 1940s. Her frequent drinking and work-related disruptions led to 2 divorces and the loss of custody of her son. These events underscored the devastating impact of her alcoholism on her personal life. In spite of these challenges, she bravely chose to overcome her addiction in the 1950s. She enrolled in a rehabilitation program, embarking on a journey to rebuild her life from the ground up. She continued acting after her rehabilitation till her death in 1984. In her memoirs, My Life in Film, Astor detailed her path and provided a powerful illustration of the devastation that alcoholism can cause, as well as the possibility of recovery and resilience. Number 19. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift battled alcoholism for much of his career, which clouded his achievements in Hollywood. It was not acceptable for a prominent Hollywood man to be gay at the time, so he had to conceal his sexual orientation. This resulted in a growing dependence on alcohol as a coping technique. His close friend and co-star Elizabeth Taylor's dinner party was a crucial turning point in his career. That evening, even with the consumption of only a single glass of wine, Clift's life experienced a devastating shift. His once handsome look was badly damaged when he drove his car off the road in Benedict Canyon. Clift's lengthy struggle with depression and excessive drinking, known as the longest suicide in Hollywood history, ended with a heart attack at the age of 45. Number 18. Tallulah Bankhead. Famous American actress Tallulah Bankhead was well known for her attractive appearance and troubled lifestyle. She was well known for her theatrical work and important movie appearances, such as her Oscar-winning portrayal in Alfred Hitchcock's Lifeboat. The legendary figure of her day, Tallulah Bankhead was known for combining alcohol with a mixture of both legal and illicit narcotics. Codeine, bourbon, her last words, sums up her terrible relationship with drugs. After moving away from home at the age of 15 to pursue her acting career in New York, Bankhead entered the notorious Algonquin Round Table. She soon immersed herself in the hard-drinking world of the Algonquin Hotel. Even the hotel owner said he couldn't run the establishment with her extravagant parties. Her career in acting blossomed, as did her experiments with drugs. Bankhead had a reputation for drinking fifths of whiskey in less than half an hour, popping poppers, using horse tranquilizers, and even mixing her own Coca-Cola and spirits of ammonia cocktail. Her careless way of living had a negative impact on her appearance and health, leaving a lasting legacy of self-destruction. Number 17. Barbara Lee Payton. American actress Barbara Lee Payton is well known for leading a dramatic and stormy life. She struggled with drug and alcohol addiction, and her life was characterized by a sharp rise and sharp fall. She began her career as a young woman from a small Minnesotan village and quickly rose to fame in Hollywood.
Do you like sables?
I just like you.
Only like?
More than like.
She co-starred on screen with icons like Gregory Peck, James Cagney, and Gary Cooper. On the other hand, Payton's private life was chaotic, filled with unstable relationships, legal troubles, and drug abuse. Drinking turned into her regular companion, providing some stability in the middle of the chaos. Her drinking became more severe in the 1960s, and as a result, she lost custody of her son. Barbara Payton slept at a bus stop in a coat and bathing suit, among other scandals that drove her descent into depravity. She passed away at the age of 39 from liver and heart illness. Number 16, W.C. Fields. I never drink water. I'm afraid it will become habit forming. The legendary comedian W.C. Fields had a unique way with words, even when it came to his passion for drinking.
Fresh water. A towel, thank you. Never like to bathe in the same water twice.
Fields was the master of sarcastic humor and, more importantly, tippling. He was a frequent and proficient drinker, primarily of martinis, although he was also conversant with rye, red wine, Irish whiskey, bourbon, and scotch. He also enjoyed Coca-Cola and rum. His employees approximated that he consumed almost 2 quarts of alcohol daily. Fields, who was raised above a bar during Prohibition, was ready for the time when alcohol was banned. He held on to his collection of emergency alcohol even after Prohibition was lifted, in case the authorities had second thoughts. He stockpiled thousands of bottles of gin and whiskey in his attic. Fields had a famous drinking story about carrying a vacuum flask full of dry martinis, which he would jokingly refer to as either his pineapple juice or his lemonade. There's a story that claims that he once cried out, "Who put lemonade in my lemonade?" after realizing that the flask's contents had been switched out for real lemonade. Hope you're enjoying the video. Wondering who will be next? I'll reveal it in just a moment. But before that, click the like and subscribe buttons for more incredible videos like this one. Number 15, William Franklin Holden. William Franklin Holden was a prominent American actor who emerged as one of the leading box office attractions during the 1950s. The handsome Hollywood star William Holden battled alcoholism for much of his life. As younger stars like Paul Newman and Steve McQueen started to dominate him in the 1960s, Holden's drinking increased and the toll it took on him became apparent. When he moved to Santa Monica, California in 1981, Holden was well known for being a quiet and secretive man. It was difficult for anyone to follow his whereabouts because he often vanished for days at a time without explanation. Unfortunately, it took a whole week before the building management became concerned or went to check on his apartment. It was too late by then. He discovered a heartbreaking scene. Empty vodka and beer bottles encircled Holden, who had been dead for at least 4 days. Number 14, Oliver Reed. The British actor, Oliver Reed, best known for his parts in movies such as Gladiator, passed away in 1999 from alcohol-related issues. Reed's alcoholism and binge drinking were well known. There are many stories, like the one about Reed and his 36 friends started drinking 60 gallons of beer, 32 bottles of scotch, 17 bottles of gin, 4 crates of wine, and 1 bottle of Baby Sham in one night. Reese had a heart attack during a break in filming. He was taken to the hospital but did not make it. Reed reportedly drank a surprising quantity of booze during his break, including rum, whiskey, and lager at a bar. Before his heart failed, he had even defeated sailors in an arm wrestle. Some said that peer pressure caused Reed's binge drinking on that particular day. Number 13, John Barrymore. John Barrymore captured spectators with his commanding stage presence. He's an important figure in the well-known Barrymore family. The Barrymores have had a mixed reputation. They've experienced a century of scandal and stardom, from bar fights to drug addiction. John Barrymore was both more tortured and talented than anyone else. He was also recognized from his heartbreaking struggle with alcoholism. At a young age, Barrymore began drinking and continued which led to several major studios blacklisting him during the 1930s. Ironically, he often portrayed sympathetic alcoholics on screen, reflecting his personal troubles.
What in the name of... What I am going to talk about, I have not the slightest idea. Except that these guys who are brought up this loathsome instrument.
As Barrymore's alcoholism worsened, his memory deteriorated, and he began using cue cards to finish his roles. His descent from alcoholism, which began in 1936, ended in his death at the age of 60 in 1942 due to chronic edema, kidney failure, and cirrhosis. Film and theater history will never be the same after the passing of John Barrymore. Number 12, Errol Flynn. I like my whiskey old and my women young. The daring actor Errol Flynn, best remembered for his parts in Captain Blood and Robin Hood, was known for his extravagant lifestyle off-screen as much as his on-screen valor. His passion for the bottle was widely known, which gave rise to legendary stories. One such story is Cirrhosis by the Sea, the moniker he gave to his bachelor pad in Malibu, where he and actor David Niven engaged in excessive drinking. His wild partying lifestyle included get-togethers on his private yacht that were fueled by cocaine, alcohol, and sex. In his 30s, Flynn experienced health issues but continued to live a lavish lifestyle. A victim of obesity and cirrhosis, he passed away at 50 from a heart attack, demonstrating the destructive power of alcohol. Number 11, Veronica Lake. Rising to fame quickly, Veronica Lake was a well-known actress best recognized for her femme fatale appearances opposite Alan Ladd in 1940s movies. But because of her battles with alcoholism, her career suffered in the late 1940s.
Things a little tough, huh?
Wouldn't be sitting in an owl wagon for local color. They locked me out of my room.
That's too bad.
Lake's filmography declined as her addiction worsened. In the 1950s, she made only one appearance. Although she made a brief comeback to the big screen in 1970's thriller Footsteps in the Snow, her career did not take off. Unfortunately, her battle with alcohol had a negative impact on her health. After returning from an autobiographical tour, she went to the doctor with stomach pains and was told she had liver cirrhosis. On July 7, 1973, she passed away from acute kidney damage and acute hepatitis, despite medical efforts. To honor her life, a memorial service was conducted and her ashes were dispersed over Miami's waterways. Number 10, Richard Burton. Celebrated Welsh actor Richard Burton started drinking at the age of 12.
It is, believe me, the question of being an alcoholic. I'm not quite sure that I am one, but if I'm not one, I'm very near. I'm very right on the edge of being one. But it is no laughing matter. It really is not a laughing matter. Alcoholism is a dreadful disease.
Burton was nominated for an Oscar for his classic performance in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf as a hard-drinking college lecturer. He had a long-standing habit of overindulging in alcohol that lasted until his final days. Burton's drinking escalated to dangerous levels in the 1970s. Reports state that he drank 2 to 3 bottles of vodka a day. As his alcoholism worsened, he struggled to maintain balance, forcing directors to film him while he was seated or lying down. After shooting The Klansman in 1974, Burton realized he needed to make a change and entered a recovery center. Unfortunately, the damage to his health was already irreversible. He had kidney illness and liver cirrhosis, and at the age of 58, he passed away in 1984. Number 9, Gig Young. Ever wonder how someone could feel empty despite receiving a major award? Gig Young is an American actor who struggled with addiction and alcoholism throughout his life, even after winning an Academy Award in 1969 for the film They Shoot Horses, Don't They? He began to associate destructively with alcohol and medications. His problems were so bad that director Mel Brooks fired him when he passed out on the comedy Blazing Saddles set on his first day of work. Young became addicted to the sedative Valium and took an astounding 7 pills a day along with a large quantity of alcohol. He overcame these personal struggles to carry on with his career, even landing a noteworthy part in Walking Distance, an episode of The Twilight Zone, as a man who visits his hometown and runs into his childhood self. The terrible sound of a .38 caliber gunshot marked the tragic end of Gig Young's story, which took place in his New York City flat. Number 8. Ryan Dunn. Ryan Dunn was well known for attending parties and his extreme pranks on MTV's Jackass and Viva La Bam. His life tragically took a dark turn on June 20th, 2011. Ryan Dunn had been drinking heavily prior to his terrible car crash with Zach Hartwell. Reports state that Dunn may have had 11 beers before the tragic car accident that night. His blood alcohol content at the time of the collision was an astounding 0.196, which is more than twice the permissible limit in Pennsylvania. Number 7. Michael Elphick. English actor Michael John Elphick worked in both television and movies. He portrayed Harry Slater in BBC's EastEnders and the title role of private detective in ITV's Boone. Elphick battled an alcohol addiction. He admitted using 2 liters of alcohol daily. The actor reportedly confessed to using cocaine and, while high on drugs, took a shotgun and chased a group of attackers following a carjacking incident near his villa in Portugal. Elphick passed away on September 7, 2002, after a heart attack. Number 6. Ian Hendry. Actor Ian McKendrick Hendry was born in England on January 13, 1931. He was lead in the first series of The Avengers and The Lotus Eaters, among other British TV shows from the 1960s and 1970s. His early death was most likely caused by his heavy drinking, which also had an impact on his later career. In his later years, he experienced a number of health issues, mostly brought on by his ongoing alcoholism. Hendry died in London on December 24, 1984, at the age of 53, from a gastrointestinal hemorrhage. Number 5. Kevin Lloyd. Lloyd was a well-known actor who starred in multiple British television shows. He played Detective Tosh Lines in the ITV series The Bill. He was fired from one of the shows when his repeated drunkenness prevented him from remembering his lines or being on time. Shortly after being fired from the show, he checked into a rehabilitation center. However, on May 2, 1998, he returned drunk, choked on his own vomit, and died. This happened after he consumed alcohol 3 times over the legal limit at the Dove Clinic in Rawlestown-on-Dove, Staffordshire. Number 4. Peter Cook. The renowned British comedian Peter Cook had a profound effect on humor through his roles in movies and television shows. His house gained notoriety as a pleasure-seeking hotspot. Cook's years of binge drinking unfortunately caught up with him at the age of just 57. He died in a London hospital on January 9, 1995, following a serious gastrointestinal hemorrhage. Number 3. Yootha Joyce. Famous for her work in television,
Mildred, am I or am I not master in my own house?
Don't be ridiculous.
English actress Yootha Joyce was a victim of her own success. For 10 years, she drank up to half a bottle of brandy every day, which caused liver damage. Throughout her life, she struggled with alcoholism, but in the end, she fell victim to it. Her last work was the 1980 full-length adaptation of George and Mildred. In the summer of 1980, she was brought to the hospital amid growing concerns for her health. Joyce passed away at a hospital on August 24, 1980, 4 days after turning 53, from liver failure. Number 2. Julia Bruns. The breathtaking American actress and model Julia Eliza Bruns, who was dubbed America's Most Beautiful Girl, had a life full of drama. She was arrested in Chicago in September 1925 for stealing $1,000 worth of jewelry. She confessed she stole it to pay for her drug habit. The truly intriguing part is that she insisted on bringing her dogs with her to jail. And guess what? The cops actually accepted her odd request. One of the saddest things about drugs is that they enable you to escape from almost everything in life except the thought of death, stated Julia, who authored multiple articles on her addiction. She tragically passed away from alcohol poisoning on December 24, 1927, at the age of just 32. Number 1. Matthew Perry. At number 1, we have Matthew Perry, who had his first drink at just 14.
Lucy, you got some explaining to do.
Oh my God. What did you do to him?
Following a jet ski accident, he became dependent on painkillers. He lost millions of dollars due to his alcohol and drug addiction, spent months in rehabilitation, and even lost memories from his most famous role. Eventually, he started to regain control over his life and assist other recovering addicts. Matthew Perry defined himself as someone who is just add water, ready to become addicted. In the end, he was unable to resist the approaching threat of addiction. Sadly, Perry was discovered dead at the age of 54 in his Los Angeles home from what appeared to be a drowning. We often assume that celebrities have everything they could ever want. Then, why do they drink? The truth is, they have their own emotions and challenges just like the rest of us. Sometimes, overnight success can be a lot to handle, leading to excessive partying and alcohol-related problems. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Share them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us.